earlier on Fox and Friends. Stuart Varney showed up.
Yeah, speaking of people who actually can't get the fuck out of my country.
Right. Here's Stuart Varney. And talking about the French. And I don't know, I'm not sure what the angle on this is. It's just that, how Europe is. Here is Stuart Varney talking about the riots that have been ongoing in Paris.
26% approval inside France, and this is the worst riot since the 1960s.
Look, what's happening in France and what's happening to Macron is a lesson for the left in America, for Democrats in America, and a lesson for all democracies. Number one, he's putting up taxes on gasoline and diesel fuel. He is defending the welfare, the cradle-to-grave welfare state. They need money. The economy there is slowing down. He needs money. He wants to impose these taxes. The people riot. Lesson to the American left. Watch out. You can't fund all these social programs by endlessly raising taxes. Number two, he's part of the Paris Climate Accord. He's got to defend his position on climate. So he raises taxes on gas, so you use less gas, so you conform to the Paris Climate Accord. Lesson to the left in America. You keep raising taxes like this for global warming, and you're going to have a problem on your hands.
Yeah, no
Number
kidding.
three, hold on, there's another one here. This movement, Gilets jaunes, as it's called, Yellow Jackets, it started about 6 weeks ago. So it seemed to come out of nowhere. In fact, it came out of social networks in rural France. The rapid organization, rapid development of these protests. There's the lesson. Social networks play a very important role in modern politics.
Indeed.
And it's a way of getting movements going really, really fast.
Wow. That last one was really insightful.
That I almost felt like I was in 1998. I
Right.
was at a Clay Shirky seminar or something. It's brilliant, very timely.
You-
Social networks mobilize protests. Welcome to
hopefully
the
Stuart
latter part of the 20th
Varney doesn't hear
century.
about what happened in Egypt. That's going to blow his mind. Anyways, but with that said, Macron is in trouble for raising taxes and did so by basically looking for funding at in the wrong source. Let the wealthiest go out and protest because their taxes are raised.
That's right. I mean, you need to soak the rich, period, for climate proposals, and he's already been hacking at the welfare state, raising tuitions, and really hurting people. The third thing I would say, though, for the left, and Mélenchon's been kind of interesting with this because he's sort of embraced the protests. He's intimated that they should be a reason to call another election, but these are the grievances are right, but this is a very right-wing oriented protest, and people need to be a lot more like savvy than just like, oh, it's a protest, that's great. Macron is garbage, but this is a rural National Front style protest, and just like in Brazil, what started as a small anti-austerity movement and an advocacy of free public transportation morphed into a far-right street movement, which backed the coup and led to where we are today.
right.
I mean, I think the lesson for the left is that we need to be as aggressive as the right. Like, we can't let networks of rural conservatives take up all the, the good riot porn that goes on TV. We need to burn some cars too.
There you go.
The French do not put up with anything, though. I gotta say, that's I'm divided on this because it's not really the things that I would like to see being protested, but they really are a good model. Like you try to raise the retirement age 1 year,
Right.
and it's like riots everywhere.
Yeah.
Take
Well,
note,
that's-
I've seen
Americans.
students,
Well, that's the great thing
start
about
charging
them.
$5 a semester for higher education, and people are in the streets.
Well, they take that lineage seriously, but of like the best deal. But I also though think that more broadly, I'm seeing people like libertarians on social media run with this because what Macron associating harming people with addressing climate is not only the wrong policy, it's also destructive for long-term action. And also for idiots who stand for Macron and will say like he's being brave on climate without and disregard the austerity. Just to note, Macron's environment minister, who was by far the most progressive member of his cabinet, quit in August in a live radio interview and essentially said, I can't take lying about this administration's record anymore. They're terrible on these issues, and they're not fulfilling their commitments.
I'm going to quote Orwell again, as I often do, from The Lion and the Unicorn. He's talking about how you deal with sort of austerity in a wartime situation, but he says, it cannot but lower the general standard of living, because the essential act of war, and I think war is a climate change sort of replacement here, is to manufacture armaments instead of consumable goods. The working class will have to suffer terrible things, and they will suffer almost indefinitely, provided that they know what they are fighting for. They are not cowards. They are not even internationally minded. They can stand all the Spanish workers stood and more, but they will want some kind of proof of a better life is ahead for themselves and their children. The one sure earnest of that is that when they are taxed and overworked, they shall see that the rich are being hit even harder. And if the rich squeal audibly, so much the better.
ContraPoints just released a good video on climate change on this topic. And it's very dangerous to portray this as something that is either caused or can be solved by individual consumer choices, when about 70% of the pollution in the atmosphere comes from a small handful of giant corporations.